Welcome to the show, everyone. Today's guest is Kelly Cochran. Affectionately known as the Loud Blonde by friends and fans, Kelly is a best-selling author, speaker, and branding expert on a mission to help women unleash their boldest, unapologetic selves. Proudly fired from corporate America for standing up for what she believes in and refusing to remain quiet in the face of injustice, even when it meant risking her job. Kelly has turned her unemployable spirit into a blueprint for entrepreneurial success. Through her Louder Hour podcast and six-figure story coaching program, Kelly empowers women to own their voices, build brands that demand attention, and get paid what they're worth. I'm excited to have Kelly on the show today to share how she helps others hone their personal brand and step boldly into their entrepreneurial dreams. And with that, Kelly Cochran, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. Excited to be here.
It is super fun to have you here. Your energy is off the charts. We've gotten to know each other over the last few weeks and months on some GoBundance calls that we're on together. And man, I love the energy of your smile and everything about you, man. You just bring a lot of power to the game, and it's a privilege to have you here today.
Oh, well, thank you, Eric. I know it's so fun to be on those GoBundance calls with you as well. It's awesome.
I know we cross the streams with the GoBundance women, the GoBundance men. We're getting it all mixed up. It's good. I tell you, the women are intense. The women are intense. Like if I am not on the WhatsApp chat for like half a day, I go over there. I'm like, oh my gosh, my head's exploding. There's like 48 messages. I try to read them. I'm like, I got to go to the bottom, start over. And then sometimes I'll back up. I like to go to the end and backwards, go back. I have a weird way of reading. But yeah, the women bring a lot of power to the game.
Yeah, well, you have to remember that women, our DNA is literally imprinted to be social creatures. So while you all were out, hunting, we were, in the cave cooking and mending and taking care of the kids in community. So yeah, we talk a lot. So
for
now
sure.
that we have all these WhatsApp channels.
So much energy.
It's pretty funny. I was at a pickleball tournament last week, and yeah, I came out of there with like 147 new messages. I was like, I can't even do it.
I'm telling you. And man, when the women ask for feedback, they're like, hey, could you give me feedback? The feedback is deep. I mean, it like goes on and on. The men, if they ask for feedback, hey, can I get feedback? Like, bro, it's awesome. Or bro, it sucks. Try again. You're like, what do I do with this? Right? The women are like, on bullet 3, go here, look at this. Think about your emotion here. What are you feeling there? I'm like, man, they are like powerful, dude. It's amazing. It's so different. It's so funny to see both sides,
Yeah, bro, it sucks. Try again.
it's exactly what the guys are like. Terrible, man. Try again. You loser. Like, come on. And they just hit each other in the mouth and move on. It's like, what do I do with that? I mean, yeah,
that is not constructive criticism.
That is not constructive. That doesn't tell me anything. Right? It's hilarious. Yeah. Oh my gosh, it's fun to see though. So cool. Well, we know where you are right now. We're going to find out more about where you are right now. But before we do that, let's talk about earlier days for Kelly. What was your life like growing up? What were your influences? Where did you grow up?
I grew up in beautiful Spokane, Washington, near nature, near perfect. Yeah. So the 509, I grew up there till I was 18, then went to University of Washington. Go Huskies.
Right on.
Just had an awesome childhood, honestly. I mean, Spokane is 4 seasons. I was super lucky. My parents had a lake cabin. I grew up ski racing. So just got to do all the outdoors activities when I was younger. Nice. It was amazing. And then, went to my parents' alma mater for school, basically because I didn't want to decide on a college. I knew I wanted to go study abroad my junior year in Florence, Italy.
Oh.
And I could care less about whatever else went around that. I just needed to get to Italy. So I figured if I went to the cheaper state school, maybe it was an easier sell to spend a year in Italy. And it was. And I spent my entire junior year in Italy. And that was life-changing.
That is insane, man. So first question is, you mentioned ski racing. Was that water ski or snow ski racing?
Snow ski. I do water ski as well. I have tried water ski racing one time. It is way harder than it looks. Well, no, it looks hard. But yeah, it's very hard, very, very hard. And I ski really fast behind a boat, but trying to pull out and make those buoys it's too hard for me. At this age, no way.
It's crazy. One thing that's interesting about water ski watching, so I know how to water ski, but I that level is like way, way, way beyond. But when you watch skiing, like you watch the skiers go around those buoys, what it did for me was it helped me understand how missing a buoy wasn't the result of something you did at that buoy. It was something that you did 3 or 4 steps before. Like you set yourself up
Yeah.
to lose or to miss 3 steps before, which to me is like this great metaphor for life, right?
That's incredible. I never thought about that, but that's so true.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And if you watch any competitive, like the commentators, they get it. And that's where I learned it, right? Because if you watch, and I love to watch sports of all kinds, but the commentators be like, oh, yeah, no, she messed up right over here. And you're like, that was 3 buoys ago. But they're like, yep, that's where she missed her line. And it cascaded into her finally missing 3 buoys later. And I was like,
Yeah.
whoa, that's like a metaphor for life.
That's a great metaphor. Yeah, because the boat's just going straight. The boat's going straight. It's maintaining a consistent speed. So it's all on you as the skier to know your centrifugal force that's pulling you back and forth between those buoys. So yeah, you're right. If you mess up, you hit a little hiccup around one, it'll totally throw you off for the rest of the course.
Yeah. And the other thing
It's
that,
hard, man. It's so hard.
dude, and it looks like there's so much pressure on your one shoulder. Like
Oh
that's,
yeah.
yeah,
Like you see the pros and they are laid out like perpendicular
flat.
to the water, one arm fully extended. It's wild. It's so cool to watch people who are really good though. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's
totally. Yeah.
incredible.
So you must have been fun to have to the lake. Like, oh yeah, let me go ski. And then you're just like shredding the lake up, right? Just,
I don't know that I'm that good, but yeah, it's fun. I'm fun
yeah,
to hang out with. I
right
do a lot
on.
of activities.
And then what about snow skiing? So what was your sport in snow skiing? What was your race?
GS mostly, but I mean, I quit when there's a level and they've renamed them since then, but I
Yeah.
made it to about J4. After that, you had to be really looking for the Olympics, like gunning for the Olympics.
Yeah.
And that's when you were going into high school. A lot of people would then go to like Mount Hood Academy, things like that. And I wasn't good enough. And I wasn't It's funny, I'm super competitive as an adult
Mm,
with everything now, but I wasn't very competitive when I was younger. So I think that's an interesting shift. Like I
interesting.
loved ski racing because all my friends were doing it. So I
Hmm.
got to like ride the chairlift with them and then hang out with them. And then a lot of times we just ditch the course and like go build snow forts and eat candy in the snow forts.
Nice.
So no wonder I wasn't so good. I was spending half my time building snow forts. But yeah,
Right.
for me, it was more like a social activity. I do have a couple of friends that went on to Junior Olympics and stuff, though, which is pretty cool. So
Wow, that's
yeah.
cool. Snow skiing, snow or ski racing seems like it would be similar to swimming as a sport, which if you look at like competitive swimming, you're staring at a black line. And if you watch like swim teams, they're most of the workout is in seclusion, right? They're face down in the water.
Yep.
But when they get to the wall, that's when they try to catch up on any chatting or whatever they're doing, like any teaming kind of thing going on. They're talking at the wall, but most of the workout is face down in the water. Which, if you think about any other team sport, you're getting a lot of team camaraderie, right? Camaraderie, basketball, volleyball, baseball, whatever it might be.
Totally.
But swimming is solitary, and I would think ski racing's got to be solitary, unless you're talking about like the chairlift. You get in the talk maybe at the top, but then once it's on and cracking, you're
It's all
like
you.
solo focus, right? It's all
Yeah.
you.
Yeah, it's interesting because I say that I'm 100% extrovert and I got back into volleyball these past couple years and ended up playing co-ed and coaching. And so I coached junior high volleyball and then I play. And you're right, it's such a better team sport because there's 6 of you on the court. I play indoor sixes. There's 6 of you on the court. You're talking constantly because you're running plays, things like that. You're coming to the middle after every
Yeah.
play. Like yeah, so it's definitely a different sport. Yeah, no, it's funny to think about it. I didn't really excel at those solo sports. I'm definitely more of a team
More
sport.
of a team player. It's
Yeah.
interesting,
Well, and
right?
that's why I love being in like masterminds and things too. It's like as a solopreneur, I'm building all this stuff. I'm building out a new course right now, building out all these online funnels. Like my background is digital marketing. So, I mean, technically I kind of know what I'm doing, but to build all that stuff in a silo is so isolating. It's exhausting. So to have a group and women and men that have already gone before me that I can learn from is a game changer. It's
Yeah.
so hard to do this alone.
Yep, it is so hard. And we're going to talk more about the whole solopreneur thing because it is like for me too, because I have a corporate background as well. And it can be super isolating, right? That the value of the mastermind, value of like a GoBundance is so, so important because you can get some feedback from others. You can get around others that are dealing with the same stuff you're dealing with. But man, the solopreneur world, it can be very isolating. And I'm like an endurance sport guy. So I'm like going my head all the time, long runs, long bike rides, long swims alone. I generally like it. But man, the solopreneur world is like not for the faint of heart for that, because you're just like, is this even make any sense? Am I just gibberish? Is this garbage? What is happening?
Yeah, exactly. You can't just scream into the void. You need to have somebody give you feedback.
Got to be feedback for sure, for sure. All right, so we have to talk a little bit about Italy, Florence, Italy, because
Mhm.
my wife and I went to Italy 2 years ago for the first time and absolutely fell in love, and just want to go back. Like the moment we finished, we're like, there's so much more to see in Europe, but we want to go back to Italy because we had such a great time. And Florence so we did Rome. We went down south to the Amalfi Coast, and we went back up into Florence and Tuscany, and then finished in Venice and flew home. But
Beautiful.
I thought I wasn't going to like Rome, which I did love Rome. And I thought I would love the Amalfi Coast, which I did. But I didn't count on Tuscany and Florence being my favorite, which it was. It was like so awesome in that middle part of the boot. And Venice, I didn't think I would like, and we love Venice too. But clearly, the winner for us was Tuscany and Florence.
Love that.
So, tell me about your time
You
in
just named
Florence?
all of my favorite places in Italy. So, I mean, you really can't name a bad place in Italy. But yeah, so stayed there for an entire year through the Gonzaga and Florence program. So my whole junior year was spent over there. Learned to speak pretty fluent restaurant Italian, I would say.
Yes.
And then my only goal after that year, I didn't want to come home at all. And my dad said, if you come home and finish your degree, you only have 1 year left. I will try and help you get back to Europe because that's all I wanted was to get back to Italy. So I came home and went to my counselor. So I went to University of Washington, which is a huge undergraduate program. At the time, I think there was 35,000 undergrad. I didn't know any of my counselors. I didn't even know I had a counselor. So I found whoever I was supposed to be talking to. And I said, okay, look, like I need to graduate in 4 years. I don't even know what I have credits in. I was someone who just, I'm so curious by nature. And so I was taking classes like air and space vehicles, sex in Scandinavia, real class, 4 pointed both of them. Murder was a class that was so hard to get into, but it was the study of serial killers.
Oh,
So
wow.
so I was taking all of these classes because I'm just so curious and I want to learn all the things. And I didn't know what I wanted to be when I grew up. So I went to my counselor getting home from Italy and I went, I need to graduate in this next year. What do I have credits wise? Because they were all over the place. And she's like, well, it looks like you have enough credits to graduate in communications. And that's a good kind of general degree you can do a lot with. And I was like, perfect. Let's do that. She goes, okay, I'll sign you up for all 400 level communications classes. So my first class senior year was Chinese communications. The only thing I remember about that class was there are 7 different Chinas. Couldn't even name them for you now.
Wow.
Yeah, and then I graduated in June, got my tonsils out right after that, and within 2 weeks I was back in Italy working. Yeah.
And when you went back to Italy, there was no coursework to do. You went back to do
Get a
what did you
job.
go do?
Yeah, so I actually got a job as a bank teller on an army base in Vicenza, which is up in the Veneto. And so I spoke English and Italian with members. Half my friend group was Italian, half my friend group were American wives of army soldiers. And it was
Wow.
awesome. It was
How awesome is
amazing.
that?
It was
Yeah.
incredible. Yeah.
And how long was that stint? How long did you stay?
I stayed another year. I wish I had stayed longer. But
Oh
yeah, stayed
man,
another year. Yeah.
that's incredible. So you got 2 full years in Italy.
Uh-huh.
Oh man, that's awesome. And so then what brings you back or did you come back to the States, and what brought you back?
Well, so back then, that was when we had declared war on, I want to say Afghanistan. And so everyone on, I was with the, oh, I hope I don't misquote this. I want to say 132nd Airborne Division, and they all deployed. And so that was the first deployment ever in our generation that deployed overseas to the Middle East. Obviously,
Hmm.
we had had Desert Storm and things like that, but that was kind of the parents, uncles generation. But for our generation, this was the first
So
time.
this is GWAT. This is like post 9/11.
Yeah, post 9/11.
Yep.
Yep. And so, yeah, right after 9/11, because I moved over in 2002. So I was over
Okay.
there 2002 to 2003 or four. And yeah, we thought that it was going to be for a couple months. And I knew once all the guys came back from deployment, that all their wives would go back with hanging out with them. And that was kind of my girls' friend group. And I was getting a little lonely being over there. And so decided to move back home. And then never would have known those guys were gone for a year. They were
Yeah.
deployed for a year. So yeah, moved back home to Spokane and woke up in my parents' basement a couple months later and went, I'm 24 living in my parents' basement in Spokane, Washington. And I've just lived in Europe by myself.
By
Like, I got to get
yourself.
out of here. I got to get
Yeah.
out of here. Yeah. So ended up moving with a friend down to San Diego, California, and stayed there for the next 16 years.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So long stay. Okay. So that's so now you're down in San Diego, and do you get that first kind of corporate gig, or what are you doing in San Diego?
Yeah, I got just started working in different marketing and sales departments and kind of changed jobs about every year. Just kind of
Yeah.
stepping stones, trying to build that corporate, climb that corporate
Yeah.
ladder
Yeah.
as we do.
Yes, indeed. And so you were, and so doing sales, marketing, are these big companies, Fortune 1000, Fortune 100, would you say, or smaller,
No,
bigger?
smaller companies to start, mostly like self-held 20 employees to 50 employees, and
Yep.
then started at a company called Renovate America that doesn't exist anymore. But I think, their 180th employee, and it exploded to like 900 over the 3 years I was there. And then got fired in 2017, May of 2017. And that was kind of the big life blow up. What am I doing with my life? I've done everything right, went to the good college, got the good grades,
Yeah.
got the good job, climbed the corporate ladder. I'm making six figure, or no, I was making just under six figures. I was
Yeah.
making $96,000 a year at that job. And I got fired because I went to HR and stood up against this new VP we had who was a total misogynist. He would
Mm,
grab women's computers during meetings and take notes on their computers. He'd like stare over our shoulders at our screens when we were working. Just a lot of like weird stuff
mm,
that was happening.
yeah.
And I went to HR and then was told that he just was new and didn't understand the company culture and to
Mm.
give him a break. And then about 4 months later, I was rolled into a massive layoff. So I couldn't fire them because I wasn't, or I mean, I couldn't sue them because it wasn't targeted. It
Sure.
wasn't backlash. So
Yep.
yeah, yeah,
Oh man. Wow.
yeah,
And would you say at this point, so leading up to that, were you finding that you had a vibe with the corporate thing? I was like, okay, I mean, 96 grand, you're
yeah.
making great money. You're, living in San Diego. Is it like, I'm enjoying this, I can keep going? Or was it like, I don't feel, I'm not fitting, or it's something kind of clashing, or what was your feeling like as you were progressing?
It was the same thing that always kind of happened to me is I felt like I was doing an awesome job. I would end up running whatever department I was in without the title.
Yeah.
And then as soon as I would go to ask for the title of the job I was actually doing, I would get pushback. Whether it was from a man, a woman, whomever, but all of a sudden it would be, oh, I'm their best employee. And once I would go to get a raise, they saw me as competition.
Mm,
And so there was always a friction point in every corporate job where it
yeah.
was like, oh, Kelly realizes her value and wants more. She's gone. Like
Yeah.
she's now competition. She's out of here. Yeah.
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 So you're seeing that friction, and then this thing happens with this guy. You get rolled up into the big layoff, and so you're out. And this is in 2017,
Uh-huh.
2018 kind of thing.
Yep.
And so what happens at that point?
So I sat on the couch depressed for a few months.
Yeah. It sucks to go from 96 grand to zero, right? I
Yeah,
mean,
it really does. It
yeah.
really does. And to go from leading a group you really loved, thought you were doing such an awesome job, like to then it just, if you've ever been fired, you feel so worthless. Like
Mm,
it's just, you're like, here I was putting blood, sweat, and tears into this thing I was building for this company. And this is how little they valued these years of my dedicated service. 3 years I had been leading this entire segment of the marketing department, running their software engineers. We had taken and run their whole website redesign that these people from New York couldn't figure out, and I ran that whole redesign. And then to get fired after that, I mean, it's just such an ego hit. It's brutal. And
yeah.
so I sat and licked my wounds for a while. And then January 2018, I was like, I just think this is always going to happen to me. I'm this loud, outspoken woman in corporate America, and that doesn't seem to be working for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I could do one of two things. I could learn how to sit down, shut up, smile, and, just toe the company line.
Yeah.
Or I could lean into being this loud, person who stands up for herself and stands up for her team and really lean into that. And that's my message. And so I actually ended up meeting Azul Chirones, who is Pat Flynn's book coach at this time. And I had started playing with this idea of writing a book. And at the time, I was going to write a marketing book about search engine optimization.
Oh,
Got
so
it.
awesome.
So boring. So I can't even say it without like falling asleep. It's so boring. And I met with Azul and he said, okay, tell me this book you want to write. And I was like, oh, yeah, marketing book, blah, blah, blah. And he goes, okay, well, tell me about you. And I went off. I got up on my soapbox and started saying, I'm this loud woman and I'm tall. I'm almost 6 feet tall. So when I walk in a room, I command a room. I have
Yeah.
presence. And that intimidates the hell out of a lot of people. And I'm like, and it pisses me off that if I was a man with the amount of presence and confidence I have, oh, I'd be running shit. But
Yeah.
because I'm a woman, I keep getting smacked down for being loud and outspoken and standing up for what's right and da 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 da. And he goes, okay, so at the end of your life, do you want to be known as Kelly the marketer? Or do you want to be known as Kelly, the leader of this movement of loud women? And I just got full body chills. And I just had this image of me leading this parade, almost like the Women's March, just
Mm.
a parade of hundreds of thousands of women, hands raised in the air, being like, we will not sit down. We will not shut up. Let's go. And I was
Yeah.
like, that's what I want to do. And so I created the Loud Blonde brand, took 10 months and wrote my book, published it as an Amazon bestseller in September 2019. It's called Loud, Silence Your Critics and Turn Up the Volume on Your Life. And it's been off to the
Cool.
races since then.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Man, the corporate thing is such a weird, it's so hard, right? I've been fired, I've been right sized, laid off, I've been straight up fired, all of it. And, so if you think about disc profile, right? So I'm a high C, which conscientious means I'm a rule follower. I like precision. I'm going to do whatever it takes to get it right, all that stuff. And so I was a great student, did really well, all those things. And not until I got into corporate life did I have that first, I can't remember it was actually my first job out of college was with a giant defense contractor in their finance area. And they had it was truly a massive downsizing they lost some big contract. They downsized a ton of people. And I got rolled up in that. And I was like, wait, this doesn't happen to me. Like it was such a knee kick, of wow, like this sucks. And, I think for people that are in, and for myself, when I was in a corporate role, when I would see entrepreneurial people or see people doing their own thing, self-employed or whatever, it was this, wow, that seems really risky. And yet in the corporate life, you can have this, what I would call a veil of safety, which is, oh man, I'm safe here, right? I don't have to worry about my paycheck in 2 weeks until you have to worry about it because something happens and it goes from high earner, which when you're brand new out of school, you pretty much can make that same money in most cases as a bartender or a wait staff.
Right.
But when you start to elevate and you start making, significant dollars, replacing that becomes hard and it can literally go away in the snap of, somebody's decision, a snap of a finger. And all of a sudden you're like, man, I went from 100, 200, whatever the number is to zero in a few weeks, maybe with a little bit of severance, but typically not a ton in the current corporate world. And there's huge risk in that, right? You think about now building your business and yeah, you're going to have good years and bad years and years when, you have more clients or less clients and the money's going to go up or down, but is it going to go all the way to zero? I mean, unlikely, right? Unless you have a
Right.
COVID, right? Which I know a lot of people, and you and I are both, on the speaking thing, and a lot of folks had built up massive speaking platforms and it did go to zero with COVID, but that's sort of like a 1 in 100 year type of event, right?
Oh,
So
yeah. I had that happen too.
yeah. Yeah. So,
Yep.
it's just this kind of appearance of safety that really is not there. And for someone that's a high performer, high achiever, high conscientious, it's going to be a real, I think you said like an ego check or something where it was like, man, what a gut punch to have that experience, and yet it's pretty common these days. It didn't used to be. I think you look at baby boomer, right? The generation. So
They never
whatever
got
was after
fired.
boomers. It didn't happen, right? If
It
you were a
didn't
good,
happen.
loyal, kind of employee, there was this contract. You do your thing. We're going to take care of you. Take care of us. Be honest. Do all your good stuff, and and you'll have the pension. All that's gone, right? That's kind of no longer a thing.
Right. You're expendable. You are absolutely
Yeah.
expendable. And I think pe employees need to understand that. Like, are you going to spend your time building your dream, or are you going to spend your time building someone else's dream who can fire you literally at any time for any reason?
Right.
So I ended up, yeah, I always argue with people about job security because
Mm.
it's this myth. There is no job security in corporate America. The only job security you have is making sure you earn your own money. So, like, I've always had side hustles around corporate because I think always kind of knew that. And I do not have any C in my personality. I am a high DI. And
Yeah.
so the rule follower in me is not very strong.
Right. Right on. Which is great. I mean, for an entrepreneur, that's like a necessary, right? DI is, I think, probably more common than any, although there are C entrepreneurs, it's
Yeah.
far less common, right? Because we see like
I'm in the
realistic.
process. I'm like, I need to hire a C.
Yeah.
I can't do these tasks and spreadsheets anymore. I just need to
Yeah.
be out on stages. That's my jam. Like, just somebody else, please do the back end work for me.
Yes. Totally. Totally get it.
But
Um,
yeah, I do want to talk a little bit about COVID because I had started my own coaching. I had been on stages. So after my book launched, I started booking stages, and I really came into myself. I remember so distinctly standing at this event in San Diego in December 2019. And so I was late 30s. And so anyone who's listening to this and you still don't know what you want to be when you grow up, it doesn't matter how old you are, that's
yeah.
fine. Don't worry about it because I was standing in this like hallway outside this huge auditorium in one of the major hotels, the Hyatt downtown San Diego, outside of this event that I was one of the keynote speakers at. And I had just talked to someone who had met me at the event, and she walked away, and it just hit me like a lightning bolt. This is what I'm supposed to be doing with my life. I am finally, after almost 4 decades, in the place where I am supposed to be. And I am so aligned with why I am on this planet. And so that was great. So everything lined up. Like, I leaned into the loud blonde, leaned into speaking. And I had an entire year of speaking engagements and international retreats I was leading. In 2020 was going to be my best year ever.
Oh man.
And I went to celebrate my birthday in Cabo San Lucas, and friends in Seattle started pinging our phones saying that there was a run on toilet paper and Clorox wipes. And we're like, what is going on in Seattle? Like, this is so weird.
Yeah.
And it was just whatever. We were on vacation sipping margaritas by the pool. We didn't care. And I got back from Cabo, and 5 days later, the world shut down. And I went from making $12,000 consistently a month to zero overnight.
Yeah.
Overnight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Brutal.
Yeah. Brutal, man.
And so what happened? How did you kind of pivot through that? What was your next move?
So luckily, a lot of the events that I was booked at to speak immediately pivoted and figured out how to do the events online. And
Yeah.
because everyone was stuck at home,
Yeah.
everyone was actually watching these online summits, which now I'll be a part of very selective online summits. But I mean, your rate of signups to actual show ups is so low because people have lives going on. But when you're
Yep.
stuck at home, you need any kind of put me in front of a
Anything.
screen. Let me do anything other than just, sit at then stare at my four walls anymore. So yeah, so I was still able to get some clients out of that. And then I had a friend who I used to work with at Renovate who said, hey, my new boss is looking for a product owner, which was my corporate position for this company. I know you're doing your own thing, but would you be interested? And I was like, yeah, that's great. Let me go back to corporate for a while. I was making a ton of money, did that for 3 years.
Yep.
And then he decided, this is so great. He couldn't find a file on his computer one day last June. And I was right about to launch into our whole sprint kickoff. So if anybody listening to this has ever been on a product team, you know, we work in like 2-3 week sprints. We were right about to kick off a new sprint cycle, which is like your cycle of work for the developers. And so I'm leading them through everything they need to do for the next 2 weeks. And my CEO is losing his mind because he can't find this file that I swear does not exist. So I'm on Slack, you know, kind of trying to help him, but like, hey man, I'm going into a day of meetings. Like, I'll help you find this later. And we start kind of going back and forth about how my system's unorganized. It was hyper organized for the
Yeah.
team that used it. The CEO didn't need to be in our systems.
Uh,
And he ended up firing me over Slack right before I went into this day of meetings because I wouldn't drop everything and help him find a file that didn't exist. I
Oh,
got 2 weeks of severance and I was making so much money. 2 weeks of severance. I had 22,000 shares in the company. They cut me a check for $1.
oh,
So I have the physical check. And the next time I am on stage, I'm working on bringing this story into my keynote because I want to hand the check to someone in the audience and hand them a microphone and have them read out the amount. So I ran his entire company. He was never around. He was the king of seagull management, is what we call it, where they're gone for months and then they swoop in, shit all over everything, squawk a lot, and then fly out again. That was his style of management.
love it.
And so he was gone for months at a time, gallivanting around Europe or Miami or whatever. And so I was running his company. And then he fired me overnight. Not even overnight, like over the stupidest thing, locked me
Wow.
out of everything. I couldn't even tell my team. I had to go on LinkedIn to find my team and just be like, hey, here's what really happened. Whatever they tell you, here's why I got let go. And everyone's like, we will fight for you. We'll ask him for your job back. And I was like, nope, this is the universe
Yeah.
releasing me from the golden handcuffs. I need to be doing my own thing. And so last summer, man, I just dove. I was like, this is it. Like, I have to go back to doing my coaching and my speaking because that's what I'm supposed to be doing. And I got off that path and the universe really hard corrected me.
Pushed you back in there. Like, go back where you
Yeah.
were, right?
Yeah.
So this was last summer. So this also you
Last
get
summer.
back onto coaching, speaking track last summer. That was summer 24. So COVID's long in the rear view. Things
Yep.
are back to, and it's like, okay, it's time to really step back into this space that you had been starting when COVID hit.
Yeah. And since stepping back in, it's amazing how like things are coming. It's like someone just said this. You know, you may be in the season of planting the seeds while
Mm,
someone else is in the season of harvesting. Don't look over at their field and think that all the work you're doing isn't going to bloom.
yeah.
They're just further along. They're in a further season than you. And I
Yeah.
see that a lot with like a bunch of the women in Go Abundance too. Is like, God, some of them are just cranking, but they've been doing this for years. And so I'm
Yep.
like, you know what? I'm not starting from zero. I've done this before. I've
Yep.
just done it in waves and then I'll go back to corporate and pick it back up again. So I have to keep reminding myself of that. And then every time I meet people out in the wild and tell them what I do, you know, they're like, "Oh my God, I need you. Oh my God, I need that." So I'm like, "Okay, this is what I'm put on this earth for." So yeah.
That's awesome. What I'm just curious. So for 3 years you were back in the corporate life. You're making good money. What was the other than the money part? And it sounds like you were doing something you enjoyed, the marketing piece and the product
Yeah.
launches. What was the feeling when you were back in that space? Was it like, okay, this is working out, or did you always feel like you had some cognitive dissonance going on, or what was your vibe while you were there? Do you
Well,
recall?
it was interesting because I was also dating someone with kids at the time. And so the kids took up a lot of my free time. I think if I didn't have that, I would have been still working on my business on the side.
Yeah.
Uh, but they kind of took up that space. So it was a very different season for me. So yeah, it was nice. It was an easy job. I could do it, you know, in less than 40 hours a week.
Yeah.
I just kind of fell back into it. People definitely notice. They're like, when are you going to get back to, you know, doing your stuff? Or are you still coaching? Are you still going to launch a podcast? What's going on with your book? And I'm like, oh yeah. That, I don't know. I'll
Yeah.
get back to that.
All
Yeah.
right.
But you know what I think happened? I ended up doing ayahuasca in May of last year
Really?
and did this incredible ayahuasca retreat, four different medicine ceremonies. At the end of it, one of the guys with us asked one of the shaman, he's like, hey, so I feel just so aligned with my divine self. How do I go back to the US and back to toxic work relationships? around people that aren't like me, around all these things that aren't serving this highest purpose. And the shaman goes, you don't have to change anything. Everything that is no longer aligned with your highest self will automatically fall away. Within 1 week of getting back from that ayahuasca retreat, I got fired. The new person I had started dating decided they were in love with their best friend and moved on. And then I had been coaching volleyball, and the head coach had a political deal with the school, and she wasn't being asked back. And so I was like, well, I'm not going to coach without her. So boom, 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 all three things not aligned with my highest self
Fall
within a
away.
week of getting back. And so I just went, okay, this is the universe putting me back in alignment. So
Yeah.
yeah, did it suck losing that paycheck? Yes.
Yeah.
But it was also the golden handcuffs being removed, because that was keeping me from doing what I'm put on this planet to do, which is help women, find their voice and tell it to the world from stage. So
Right on, right on. Awesome. So what do you do in that moment of like, oh gosh, the income's falling away, but I got to pay bills, I got rent, whatever. How do you kind of get it going back from scratch? Because it sounded like it had kind of gone to a standstill almost, and you had to kind of breathe new life back into it. How did you
yeah.
go about doing that? What were your next steps?
I mean, luckily, I had been making such good money that I had been saving about 50% of my paycheck. So I had a very big fallback,
Right.
which I would say to anybody listening to this, like in this day and age, there is no job security. So if you're only making enough to pay your bills, you are not making enough, because if
Yep.
that goes away, what are you going to do?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I luckily had joined GoBundance. So, we keep talking about that. And if you're listening to this and you don't know what that is, that's an incredible mastermind of mostly entrepreneurs. And we just support each other in anything that we're working on. And so being a part of GoBundance, I went headfirst into that community, and I really lean on my pod, and I lean on all the micro tribes, and I'm just following the blueprint of exactly what these women have done to hit multi six figures with their own businesses. I'm just doing the same thing. So I'm like, oh, okay, you built a course and you have this webinar funnel. I'm going to do that too. Okay, here's how. I had an old coach, Anthony Trucks, who we both have as our
Yep.
speaking coach. Went to one of his events in January, and he just kind of came back into my life on Instagram. It's like when the student's ready, the teacher will appear.
Yep.
So it was like, I really need to get back on stage. Boom. Anthony is in my Instagram ads saying, hey, come to this event, get on stage. We'll go over your keynote. Da, da, da. And I was like, oh, I need to brush the dust off of my keynote. I need to get back on stage. I need to get my reps. Let's go. So I signed up for that, and then signed up for his mastermind. So I always make sure I have a mentor. I always make sure that I'm not going out into the wilderness without a map and a compass. I'm
Mm.
going with a guide who knows the trails, who knows the landmarks. I don't try and do it on my own.
Man, that's awesome. And that's so you've just referenced the hero's journey and the whole notion of, being a guide. Are you the hero? Are you the guide? And we'll talk more about that because I know you've got this beautiful sense of, you will be the guide and the mentor for the hero, which is the person in their own story. Be the hero of
Absolutely.
your own hero's journey. But you need guides and mentors along that path. Otherwise, it's too easy to get lost, sidetracked, or stranded on a desert island. Let's talk about, because you mentioned one thing a minute ago about you're making good income, but it wasn't that hard. You're making, you're working less than 40 hours a week in order to make that. Talk about the entrepreneurial life, because that's just something that I've grappled with, which is there is no end, right? It's sort of 7 days a week, unless you determine there's an end, right? Unless you determine when to put the brakes on, when to create guardrails. So how have you found either, latest corporate, last corporate job in the COVID era, or now, that you maintain balance, create guardrails, or there is no balance, there is no guardrails, it's flat out all the time? And what's your approach to that whole entrepreneurial life and the fact that it can be consuming?
That's a great question. I was just with a friend last night on a rooftop having wine, and we were laughing because she's like, "You guys know I'm never on social media. You know I never do anything but work." Because I was asking her, I was like, "Yeah, I'm trying to plan this happy hour for all these people coming into town, and do you guys know any good rooftops to go on to?" Blah blah blah. She's like, "I never go out. You know that. I'm always working." And I was like, "It's so interesting because she and I prioritize our time very differently." time freedom is my number one. And that
Mm.
is why I could never go back and work in an office. Knock on wood. If someone
Yeah.
gave me like a crazy offer, maybe I'd consider it. But it would have to be
Right.
like, it would have to be insane. It would
Right.
have to be like you are running product or marketing for this huge company for $1 million. Then
Right.
maybe you'll see me in an office 3 days a week.
Right. Right. Right.
But time freedom, I have been at like working for myself or from home since 2017. That was the last time I've ever been in a cubicle, and that never fit with my lifestyle.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've ever done human design, but I just looked at mine, and my environment is actually a cave, which makes sense. I don't co-work well like in a coffee shop. It's
Mm.
really hard for me to focus with a lot of noise around me on a little laptop. Like I
Yeah.
have a big setup, multiple monitors. I want to be in my space, focused, no sound around me. Like that is how I get most of my work done.
Yeah.
And so and also I don't want to work if I want to go work out in the morning, like I like lifting weights Monday, Wednesday, Friday mornings at 8:30. If I worked in an office, I wouldn't be able to do that because I wouldn't get to the office after showering, eating, walking the dog till like 10:30, 11.
Yeah.
What office is going to be like, sure, roll in at 11, no
Yeah.
problem.
Right.
I remember I worked at this radio station and the GM was, he's such a jerk. He would walk around at like 5:10 every night, every day
Yeah.
to see whose butts were still in seats. And I was doing CrossFit at the time, and I had a CrossFit that started at like 6, I think. And so I had to leave by 5:30. And I knew he'd do his rounds. And the second he'd leave where I was, I already had my bag, my gear stashed. I may already have had my like gym shorts on and my tennis shoes on under my desk, and I was out that door as soon as he did his rounds. But I mean, how stupid is that? I'm an
Yeah.
adult. My work is done. Like the biggest thing that I hate about corporate America is like you need to be in your desk from 9 to 5. Why? That
Yeah.
might not be my most productive hours. My least productive hours are like mid-afternoon. I get so tired. I've loved going and either taking the dog on a really long walk down on Lady Bird Lake here in Austin or going in and playing open pickleball for a couple hours to bring my energy back up. And then I'll get like energy late at night, like later in the evening, like
Yeah.
6 to like 10.
Mm.
And so you can't do that when you're stuck in an office. Like it's just weird to me that they think that the big they, corporate
Mm.
they, think that everybody has the same energy levels in the same time of day. And as I've gotten older too, like women's hormones shift a lot as we get older. And so like my cortisol is dipping at certain times in the day. You are not going to get good work out of me at 2 p.m. I'm telling you right now. Like you're
Yeah.
just not. And
Yeah.
so time freedom to me, so I put really strict boundaries around my weekends too. I'll sometimes like if I'm trying to get something done, like a webinar or something, and I'm behind on it, I'll work weekends, but I still honor that Saturdays and Sundays are weekends. I will work Monday through Friday, kind of random, sporadic hours, but Saturday and Sunday, I will make weekend plans. And people who don't do that, you're just going to burn out. If you're working 24/7, like 365, there's no way that that works out for you. You're going to burn out. You have to
Yeah.
have free time and downtime. And what are you working that hard for? Like for me, I just value having hobbies, having activities, being outside, being in nature, travel way too much to just be sitting at a computer all day. I can't do it.
Yep. I love that. I mean, it's great to have that perspective. And I think you're spot on. It's for me, it's easier said than done. And that notion of like, maybe it goes back to that C mindset of like, oh my gosh, I always think of the list of stuff that needs to be done. And I'm just going to step into my office real quick for an hour, and 3 hours later you come back out and you're like, man, I've fried half my Saturday or whatever. It's easy to do. And I love you mentioned a lot of physical stuff in terms of like CrossFit, working out, going to the gym, pickleball. I would presume by that you use fitness as a way to kind of regulate a lot of what's going on, keep your energy up, keep your
Yeah.
health. Talk a bit about some of your routines in terms of health and fitness and mental well-being.
Yeah, I mean, I have to be in nature every day. It helps having a dog, so she also has to be in nature every day.
Yes.
And so, yeah, I have to be outside. I have to, touch the ground, see the sky, get the wind in my hair. Like I can't just be inside all day. I don't know if that's growing up in the Pacific Northwest and being surrounded by nature all the time. It's getting harder here in Texas. It's getting a lot harder out, a lot hotter during the
Yeah.
day and really muggy. So it's always an adventure to step out my door and see how humid it's going to be. But I try and still get outside at least a couple times a day. And then yeah, lifting weights for me, I can really zone out when I lift and when I do yoga. Like I'm like how you said you're an endurance athlete and how you can kind of go into your own head. I can do that with yoga too,
Yeah.
and lifting weights. Like I can really, that's just a Zen time where everything kind of quiets down for me. So it's almost meditative when I'm doing those types of movements. Paddleboarding too. I just got back into paddleboarding down here on
Nice.
Ladybird, and yeah, and I can just being on the water, I can just zen out and zone out and kind of give my brain a break. So I think that's super important. Move your body and just get off screens, man. We're on screens way too much. We're sitting way too much. Our bodies weren't meant for this. And that's
Yeah.
all we do.
Agreed. Yeah, it's a super big deal. And yeah, I think for me, finding the outdoor exercise as opposed to the gym, I think the gym's great too, but I think there's something to the whole fresh air, sunlight, grounding, all those things I think are just really important, even if it's just, to me, walking. I incorporate walking into part of our day. We have a dog as well, so we get walks in with the dog. My wife and I we have a set day of the week that we walk together, like a 3 mile loop. And so walking and just being outside, so important.
I love that. There's another thing too. I used to habit stack walking. I still sometimes do this, walking with listening to like an audiobook or podcast. But I learned this really cool thing from another group in called Exchange, and it's the see, hear, feel walk. So instead of having anything in your ears, all you do, the only words you can say to yourself are see, hear, or feel. So if I'm walking on a path and I feel the gravel crunching under my feet, I say hear or feel. If I hear a bird chirp, hear. If I see leaves rustling, see. And it's so cool. It's so meditative. And you notice things you would never notice on your walk otherwise. And it's really fun to do that while paddleboarding or walking or jogging. Just see, hear, feel. And you just see the coolest stuff because you're actually paying attention to nature instead of having that squirrel brain going in your mind like, here's my to-do list. Here's all the things I have to do when I get back to the desk and da, da,
Yeah.
da, da, da. It's like, no, pay attention to nature. And I was just reading something about how true magic lied in indigenous people, like realize their connection with Mother Earth and with nature. And because they were outside in nature all day long and gathering and hunting and being one with the land, like that was the pure magic. And being such a more whole human was because you were really one with nature. And we've gotten so far away from that.
Yeah, yeah. I totally agree. And I love that idea of see, hear, feel. That's when walking. Anytime I've coached, when I talk about incorporating a walk in, I always encourage, if you can totally leave your phone at home, leave it at home. It's certainly, if you can't leave it at home, put it on full silent airplane mode in your pocket so that it's not beeping at you or chirping at you, and don't listen to music and don't listen. And I've had some clients go, why can't I listen to music? It's really relaxing. And I'm like, because it's another input. I mean, yes, there's times a day, great. Listen to music. If you love music, great. But try to have that some amount of quiet where you can hear yourself think. And I think it's a male thing too. My wife gives me a hard time about, women are great multitaskers. Men are like single focus. And she's right. The reality, I think it's kind of a joke, although it's real. So I don't know how funny it can be, is that when a guy gets lost, he'll turn the radio down, right? As he's trying to like figure out where he is, he'll turn the radio down in the car if he's driving. And I do that. And so it's like, why is that? And it's like, because I can't hear myself think when there's that extra audio going into my ears, even though I should be able to tune it out, but I can't. And so, but there's this notion that we are so consumed. We're constantly got this input of
Uh,
data and sound and somebody else's opinions, thoughts, or stuff that they're shaping and pushing at us, that I don't know how we can have an original thought or a solo thought or consider or, toss ideas around in your brain when there's constant input coming in. So we've got to turn the input off, in my view. You've got to have that quiet time and silence. Silence is so, so important to me. And I think I just encourage people like, man, we used to have lots of board time, right? Lots of silence because you just had no choices. Now we don't have to have silence. We can have constant input, video, audio, all of it. And it's like, dude, we were not built that way. We got, 10,000 years of humanity, and we've had like since the iPhone in 2007 that we're now learning to live with this constant data. And we wonder why we've got excessive amounts of depression, anxiety, all this happening. It's like, well, we're rewiring the human brain in real time,
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Just thinking about growing up like in the 80s and 90s, how you would only watch TV because certain shows would be on starting at like 8 o'clock. We never had the TV. And I know there are TV families, but we were never a big TV family. We never had the TV on eating. We always ate together as a family. And then I think my parents probably watched the evening news, but like as us kids, we didn't get to watch a show until it was like that 8 o'clock show,
Yeah.
like Family Ties or whatever it was.
Yeah.
And then we'd have bedtime. So we maybe got a half hour of TV a day, a couple days a week. That's it. And now to think about kids being on screens constantly, we're on
Yeah.
screens constantly. Like I
Yeah.
found myself, I'll be eating lunch and taking a break and I'm just scrolling Instagram, watching videos, like,
Yeah.
and I'm like, oh my God, I gotta stop. I gotta
Yeah.
just be mindful. Just eat your food.
Yeah.
You don't need the extra input.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, taste your food. You don't need to watch a reel while you're doing it.
I know. It's so true. But it's such a dopamine addiction, right? It is
Oh,
truly
it's
an addiction.
bad.
And so, yeah, we got to push back against it. But okay, so a couple things that kind of pop out. You've got this unique perspective of having done a long run in corporate and now also an equal, long run as an entrepreneur. So you really understand both spaces, right? You understand what it's like to be a corporate person that's excelled and had great experiences and success. And then you've seen some of the downside. You've also had successes on the entrepreneurial front and have carved your path and saw the negatives that can happen when a COVID happens and things get tossed on their head. What's your perspective for women or for your potential clients or clients that are either contemplating a move? I mean, there's pros and cons to both, right? We see pros and cons in either environment. And I know I've said this comment before too. GoBundance, you mentioned it earlier that there's a lot of entrepreneurs in GoBundance, and there are. And so there's somewhat I pick up on is this little bit of a negative vibe toward W-2, toward the whole, oh, if you're a corporate guy, when are you getting out? And it's like, I don't know if
Yeah.
getting out is the right answer for everyone, right? And so this whole the idea of what are some of your strongest lessons learned or perspectives on corporate versus or I say corporate, just employed by and employed by someone else, working for someone else versus working for yourself, and the goods, the bads, and any kind of guidance you provide to your clients or the listeners.
I mean, listen, having a steady paycheck every 2 weeks is so nice. I will never poo-poo that. It's amazing to
Yes.
know how much money I
Agreed.
have coming in every 2 weeks. Like I haven't had that in a while. I
Yeah.
I gotta say, I do miss
Yeah, for
that.
sure.
And health insurance. Sadly, in the United States of America, if that's where you're listening to this podcast, our health insurance is tied to our employment, which is terrible. I will not get on my soapbox about that. It's
Yeah.
garbage. And so when you lose a job, you lose your health insurance, and that is horrific. It should never be like that.
Yeah.
So if you have something where you absolutely need health insurance, then yeah, you probably need a W-2 because health insurance, if you're self-employed, is really hard to get. It's really expensive.
Yeah.
It usually doesn't cover much. So yeah, that's the real about that in the United States. Thankfully, in other developed countries, that's not the case. But I think some people are more wired to, and I don't want this to sound negative because it's not, but some people are more wired to be an employee.
Yeah.
Some people like and talking about the disc personality, C types like rules and structure. A lot of people thrive in structure.
Yeah.
I know I've worked for a couple a couple startups that had no structure. And it was funny, that didn't work for me because I'm really type A. and project manager is my
Yeah.
background. And so I actually do like structure if I'm working for someone else. If it's the Wild West, it'll drive me insane.
Yeah.
Um, and which is funny because the way I'm running my business now, I'm running it like the Wild West. And now I'm like, oh, it's because visionaries don't
Right.
think in structure. I need an
Right.
implementer. So shout out to Rocket Fuel if you haven't read that book.
Yes.
But I think there are definitely positives to having a W-2. That said, most of the things I hear, getting a boss you love is few and far between. Out of all of the jobs I've had since I was 22 to last year, I have one corporate boss, Beth, I'll give you a shout out, who is phenomenal. Loved her, still love her to this day. We're still friends. She was awesome. Um, oh, and Lisa was a great boss too. So two women bosses were great. I've had another woman boss that was terrible and a bunch of men that were terrible. I don't know that it matters about gender. It's just they weren't
Yeah.
great bosses.
A lot of bad leaders.
A lot of bad leaders because people don't get leader. They don't become leaders because they should be leaders. They get leaders because they speak the corporate speak to the right person who thinks they're smarter than they are usually, in my
Right.
opinion.
Or they were a great
Um,
individual contributor. So it's like, well, clearly you should be the boss. And it's like they were maybe never wired to be a boss. They were great
yeah.
individual contributors, right? Let them do their thing. Why are we changing that? But yeah,
Yeah. I
agreed.
just think, and I also just think the drawback to a W-2, there's so much corporate politics. The biggest complaints I always hear from my girlfriends who are still in a 9 to 5 are how shitty their boss is, the corporate politics, how they can't get anything done because of the politics, and how people are getting passed over. They're getting passed over for a job that they should have had, and no time freedom. So they're still running on this. Oh, you have to accrue 3.2 hours per 14 days and bibbity bobbity boop, and you don't even get like a full week off until you've worked there for 17 years. I mean, it's insane to me the lack of vacation time that people get in corporate America still. So for me, the drawbacks are so much more. I want to have control of my time. I want to say when I'm working and not. I want to say where I'm working. If I want to work from a beach in Cabo on a laptop, I'm going to do it. No one's going to tell me I can't. No one's going to tell me I have to work from an office. I don't manufacture anything.
Yeah.
I'm not in customer service where I'm doing transactions one-on-one, face-to-face. I can work from anywhere in the world. And if a boss doesn't understand that, yeah, no, I can't. So
Yeah.
yeah, there's pluses and minuses, but I think it takes a level of confidence to be an entrepreneur. I think it takes a huge level of resilience because you are going to get smacked down over and over and over until you find the thing that sticks and you find the thing that makes you you. And you have to have really good branding to stand out from the crowd. I'll have a freebie after this. Um, and yeah, it takes a certain type of person to be successful as an entrepreneur, for sure.
Agreed. Agreed. All right. So what's on the plate for you? What are you excited about as you look forward, Kelly? What are you focused on for your business?
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited because I'm launching my brand new academy. It's the Branded to Booked Academy. So it is for any coach or consultant who wants to be seen, who feels like they have so much to offer their clients, but they're not attracting the right opportunities and they're not getting booked on podcasts and stages to share their message. So I help you craft your six-figure story throughout this Book to Branded Academy and Branded to Booked Academy. I always mix those up. And yeah, and so we help you create just an epic celebrity brand, personal brand. And then I have all these scripts to help you get booked on podcasts. And then if you want to become a speaker, we work on your keynote and getting you booked to speak as well.
Fantastic. So is that a group program or is it
That's
one-on-one
a
or both?
that's
Group
a
program.
group program. Yep.
Yeah.
Group program, and it's going to start this June. So I don't know when this is airing, but the first cohort will start in June and then it'll just be rolling. But it's a 12-week program. You get a bunch of modules inside the login, and then you get weekly coaching with me, group coaching, and then you also get access to the community inside Kajabi. So yeah, it's going to be really fun.
Fantastic. That's super awesome. Awesome. Where can people find you and keep up with your work, connect with you, reach out, all those good things?
Instagram at Loud Blonde. And then if they would like to download my Get Booked Blueprint, how to turn your story into a $100,000 brand, go to loudblonde.com/blueprint.
Loudblonde.com/blueprint. Awesome. Super cool. Kelly, it's been such a great conversation. So much fun. I knew it would be, and we could keep on going. I'm sure lots to talk about, but man, it's been a great time, and it's such an honor to have you here. I so appreciate you.
I love it. Thanks so much for having me.
My pleasure. To our audience, thank you for taking time from your busy day to listen. Always appreciate you do that. If you'd share the program with a friend, give us a nice review, write us a rating, all those things help us reach a broader audience. Until next time, friends, I'm Eric Sardina. You've been listening to the Return to Authenticity podcast, and bye for now.